Welcome to Maths Genius. Today we will be covering an important topic in the English language portion.
Welcome back to the reading comprehension series, and as we were discussing the strategies, I was telling you that this is the strategy that we will be focusing on and we will be using. And we have looked some of the questions. The first thing to do is to first read the first few questions initially. But again, that is not always the case. For example, if you have a passage like this, the passage says the primary purpose of the passage. As I have mentioned earlier, for the primary purpose, you have to read the entire passage initially. So you won't be looking at this one. The next question is the author mentions the mixing of traditions of moralism with those of comedy primarily in order to, again, this is in context question, this can be done easily, and then reading the third question as it can be seen that it's an inference question, so we cannot attempt this one. Okay, so first we have bifurcated it, right? It can happen like in the previous example over here that initially we are getting questions which are according to our requirement that they can be answered directly just by reading the passage and just by reading in between the lines. But there is a possibility, as we have seen over here, there is a possibility that there can be questions when you are first reading them, you have to say, okay, these are a whole passage questions, so what one should do at that period of time. Okay, so starting with this one. Okay, so as we have identified over here, the author mentions the mixing of traditions of modernism with those of comedy primarily in order to, now we are first attempting this one. Now we will start reading the passage. As we are familiar that the first question is asking of the primary purpose, okay, mentions the mixing of it and inference, right? So these are the three questions. So by 1784, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was internationally renowned as the composer of the Marriage of the Figaro and consequently received a commission from the Prague Opera House. But even we should also realize that we can directly go to the line where it is mentioned this part, the traditions of moralism. So it's over here, I think so. The opera mixed traditions of moralism with those of comedy, a practice, yes, a practice heretofore unknown among the composer's work, creating a production that was not well liked by the conservative Viennese. So, the author mentions the mixing of traditions of modernism with those of comedy just by reading this line. I have no idea what the passage is all about, I haven't read it, and just by reading these few lines, because these are in context questions, we can directly solve them, so there is no need to panic. Sometimes it happens that if you are getting an answer quickly, some of the students they have a tendency, okay, perhaps you are getting it incorrect. No, it's not always true. You can be getting them correct in the first attempt as well. Let's have a look. The opera mixed traditions of moralism with those of comedy. This is mentioned over here. Why he wanted, and why the author mentioned this? Because creating a production that was not well liked by the conservative Viennese. Okay, now read. Explain works lackluster reception among a particular group of people. Well, if I focus and if I read Viennese people, particular, it mentions, okay, lackluster reception, not well received. Okay, so lackluster can be seen as not well received or liked. That is written in the passage. And works like lackluster reception among a particular group of people. So first one for me seems to be the right option, but we are not concluding it over here. We are going through all the other parts just in case. So remind the reader of the plot of Don Giovanni. Nope. Nothing of this sort is written about this particular line. This particular line. Highlight a practice common in contemporary opera. It was written a practice here to unknown. So can never be the option. Argue for an innovative approach to opera. There is no argument among the words. Just read the lines. There is no argument given. Undermine a previously presented assertion. He is not even undermining it. So A is the option that is definitely correct over here. I hope you guys are getting my point. Now, what you have to do? You have to go through the passage. As you have bifurcated it, you have at least scored one answer by yourself. So among the three, you have scored like 33% of the marks without even reading the entire passage and without even getting into the hassle of reading the passage. Now, we will be focusing on the two other questions which are given. So it says that by 1784, okay. So the primary purpose of the passage. Okay, so in the first paragraph, it is saying the resulting product was Don Giovanni, which tells the tale of a criminal and seducer who nevertheless evokes sympathy from audiences and whose behavior fluctuates from moral crisis to hilarious escapade. While Don Giovanni, okay, now this word, why, right? When we are trying to compare things, right? Compare. So we say that, for example, A is bigger than B, right? For example, I am saying A is bigger than or A is taller than B, but B is smaller than C, right? So something like this. So when this word while is a clue word. We will be discussing more about these clue words, how to read the passage, how to decompose the passage in the next video as well. But just to have and just to read that what we have to do, we have to look at the connectives and transitions. Each or transitions. So each connective or transition is telling us something. Okay. So in the first part is the resulting product was Don Giovanni, which tells the tale of a criminal and seducer who nevertheless evokes sympathy and this. Now, while Don Giovanni is widely considered to be Mozart's greatest achievement, 18th century audience in Vienna, Mozart's own city, were ambivalent at best. So he was saying that they were not not fully satisfied, not much more enthusiastic as compared to others. Why? Because it was saying that he was an internationally renowned as a composer, right? So, after all that, but in his own city, he is just considered but ambivalent at best. That's it. If you are not even sure about the meaning of the ambivalent, it's just but just by reading the context, you can say, okay, it was ambivalent at best. Okay, so it wasn't received that much with a lot of enthusiasm or etc. Now, the primary purpose of the passage relate to the story of a somewhat likable anti-hero. Okay, so as one can see that Don Giovanni is like an anti-hero, but is it asking us to relate to it? These words are the important ones. Sorry, it is a make a case for and emphasize. These are the important words. You don't have to even read it. Relate to the story. No, he is not relating to it. Discuss how a work of art has been met by diverging responses. If I looking at the first paragraph, internationally renowned composer, okay. In the second paragraph, ambivalent at best, nothing much more. Similarly, opera mix traditions of moralism with those of comedy. Something new, but not well liked among the audience. Meanwhile, Don Giovanni was performed to much acclaim throughout the Europe. So this one seems about right. Give a history of the work. Nothing about history is given. Make a case for the renown of Don Giovanni. Nothing of this sort. Emphasize the moral aspects of a musical work. They mentioned about moralism. So this is a trick question. This part is asking you, is making you to focus on this part more and to make an error. So these are like you have to be an eye opener and you have to look for those clue words like as moralism was mentioned, so they have mentioned moral over here just to catch your attention. So this is again not the correct option and choice B B is the correct answer. I hope you guys are understanding this part and are enjoying it as much as I am by reading this passage. Okay, it can be inferred from the passage that which of the following is true about the response of Viennese audiences to Giovanni. So, which one it is? Just by reading it, the audience preferred purely no. The responses were unequivocally positive, not at all. They did not know the composer was adapting. This is now not mentioned. The play's moral themes were offensive to Viennese. They didn't like it, not offensive. To say that the response was mixed would be a generous interpretation, yes. If I say they liked it, it's not a mixed response, it was a bad response, not well liked. So this one is the correct option. That's the end of our reading.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and share this video and subscribe my channel for more videos and updates.